How about now? Let's get some comments. Is this working? Can everybody hear us? We will edit this after if it doesn't work. Okay, Wiktor, can you say something?
Yeah, does that work?
I think it does.
Okay.
I think it does. Let's just get a final confirmation. Okay, one person told me that it's working. I say we good. Okay, so I suppose we can do a little bit of a restart.
Okay, perfect. Shall I start from the very beginning?
I think so. Thank you, everyone, for being so understanding. Of course, with every live stream, there's a very nice technical problem, always gratis. So, in case you didn't hear this, I know you didn't. Episode number 2 of Big Short Talks. And we are lucky enough to have Wiktor from Bitso, the head of trading engine. Bitso is a very large cryptocurrency exchange in Latin America, recently double unicorn status. So, Wiktor, if you could introduce yourself better than I ever could.
Thank you for having me, Philip. So let me start with my journey into so I first read about Bitcoin in around 2011. Back then, kind of ignored it, thinking it was another instance of internet money, just like Linden dollars in Second Life. And then I got more seriously interested around 2013, 2014. And that was still during my studies. And to give a bit of context, I studied maths and economics during my bachelor's and maths and computer science during my master's. So I got really interested in the mathematical, cryptographical aspects of cryptocurrencies. When I read the Bitcoin white paper, I realized that it was relatively simple mathematical concepts brought together, creating something genius, which can revolutionize the world and create a parallel economy, to say so. And I think we see that materializing. So before working professionally in crypto, I briefly worked at Bank of America Merrill Lynch as a programmer, and also at a algo trading hedge fund doing some machine learning, time series analysis, algorithmic trading, and then got into crypto more seriously in 2014-15, started with trading Bitcoin, what was pretty much one of the very few use cases available back then. And then together with my co-founder from Quedex, we decided to create a crypto derivatives exchange. Back then, the reality was completely different than it is nowadays. There were no financial derivatives available on cryptos. The first one started emerging the first serious one started emerging around 2014. But we wanted to trade more sophisticated financial products, not only futures, but also options, and decided to create an exchange offering crypto futures and options. And that was when our journey with Quedex started. And fast forward a few years of an exciting startup journey, growing liquidity on the platform, building technology, getting regulated in Gibraltar. We met Bitso in 2020 and decided that we can join forces, and Bitso acquired Quedex, and currently I'm the head of trading engine at Bitso. This is where I am currently.
Major congrats. Very impressive resume. You mentioned that Quedex was acquired, eaten up by Bitso. I don't want to ask any questions that are too private, but can you share something more? What is it like when you start Corbex and then something as huge as Bitso just approaches you and says, come over?
Sure. Well, I believe every startup is a crazy ride, and I guess every founder would admit that. And it wasn't different for us at Quedex. This journey started in 2015. We raised seed funding in 2016. Then we're building the platform until 2017, the technology side. And at the beginning of the life of the project, I was more on the technology side. And then I shifted also more towards business and business development and becoming the CEO of the company and being also later in 2018-19 involved in our regulatory process, which in 2019 made us the first regulated crypto derivatives exchange in Gibraltar with a regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, which Gibraltar 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've been working on growing liquidity on the platform, growing volumes, launching exciting new products. At the beginning of 2020, we launched the longest options in crypto, 2-year-long options. We've been doing pretty decent volumes, starting to see growth in the millions of dollars per day. Not yet there where BitMEX was and some of the larger competitors. But then we met Bitso, who is a spot exchange, as you mentioned, in the Latin America. But there was an element which made us relatively close to each other because Bitso was or still is regulated in Gibraltar, of course, as a spot exchange, or to be more precise, has the crypto part of its operations regulated in Gibraltar because the fiat part is regulated in Mexico, which is kind of an interesting dual regulatory setup. So we started discussions around mid-2020, what we could do together. And it became quickly pretty evident that Bitso had the scale which we needed, and we had derivatives products which Bitso didn't have, and was some very interesting product offering to add to a spot exchange. And also we had or still have a very performant matching engine for the derivatives exchange. And Bitso was thinking about revamping their spot trading technology, leveraging our technology from Quedex. So this ended up to become an acquisition of the whole company and our whole technical team. Not too many, 6 of us at Quedex, and we are now all at Bitso, and we are helping improve the trading technology that Bitso has, performance, reliability, scalability, and also bring the derivatives products to Latin American users.
So, congrats on that. And I have 2 questions. You choose which one you put first. What does a day in your life at Bitso as the head of trading engine look like? Or, both have to be answered. The cultural differences that you saw, because as I understand it, Quebec was set up here in Europe. Am I getting that right?
Yes, that's true. So yeah, let me start with the second question. Quedex was a very much European company. I'm Polish, and my co-founder is Polish, and we had Polish angel investors. And of course, we did this company setup with a Gibraltarian entity and the exchange being domiciled in Gibraltar. So we also had a team in Gibraltar, so kind of multinational setup. And when it comes to the user base, very much worldwide, like for any crypto derivatives exchange, which is a very strong thing in crypto, that when you launch something that is crypto-centric, because we were a crypto-centric exchange, we didn't accept fiat deposits or withdrawals, only crypto in, crypto out. So this immediately makes you global. But yeah, definitely in terms of operations, focused on Europe, and Bitso operationally focused on LATAM, but also in domiciled in Gibraltar. So in a way, a similar setup. So regarding the differences, it's very interesting. I'm still learning a lot about the crypto landscape in LATAM, because in Europe we have relatively stable economies, relatively stable currencies. Well, we may argue about inflation these days, but still, like comparing to Argentina with hyperinflation, we are super safe. It's still okay to keep your money under the mattress or in your bank account. And in those LATAM countries, not necessarily so. It's different between the countries, but crypto has. So from European perspective, crypto has like those speculative use cases first and foremost. I think trading, settlement layer, also a way to hedge against inflation, which is being more and more recognized these days, also by institutions, especially in the United States. We want things distributed on Ethereum, we want distributed apps and so on. But in LATAM, there is this angle which I think changes the perspective very much, because it's if someone leaves their savings in their own local currency, it will be worthless very, very quickly. So what they can do through crypto is run away from this risk. And okay, we may see that Bitcoin is super volatile, like this is like double-digit percentage changes during a single day. It's not too much for crypto, but still, comparing to the inflation levels, it is relatively low. So even with this volatility, this asset is stable comparing to local currencies. So this is about Bitcoin specific, but of course, crypto also enables other use cases such as stable coins. Which then don't have such a scrutiny, like capital controls, etc., that various countries have. And well, for us in Europe, like having a US dollar bank account, like not a big deal, right? Pretty much everyone can have a US dollar bank account. And in LATAM, not necessarily so. So being able to transact in stable coins is a huge advantage. So that's, I believe, one major difference. And second one is remittances. And this is something we've been working on at Bitso as well for about a year, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, remittances, I believe, largest remittance corridor in the world between United States and Mexico, billions of dollars. And currently, the incumbents, traditional financial companies, all the Western unions of this world, making it super expensive, super slow. We are trying to optimize it through crypto, and it really works. And we are able to capture a significant portion of that remittances flow. So it's another very strong use case, which isn't maybe that visible in European countries. So these are the, I believe, most important differences that I would highlight.
Yeah, I mean, remittances, that is something that, especially from a European or even American, North American standpoint, that's not something that's always thought about, whilst it is a very large percentage of money moving around the world, people going to work somewhere to send money back to their families, and any other scenario that basically necessitates the transfer of money over various geographies, time zones, and of course banking systems. So absolutely, I can see that. And what you mentioned, I think it was Venezuela, where the inflation is happening so rapidly that the cryptocurrency actually is something that people prefer over the local currency. So
yeah. Well, the situation differs between the countries, and honestly, I'm still not too much into the details, but I know it's an issue in many of those countries, and customers are really coming in, knocking at the door, and willing to buy crypto to avoid fiat volatility. How crazy that would sound.
No, yeah, that's the thing. That's what this interview is also supposed to serve, other than speaking with you about the technical and regulatory intricacies that you mentioned at the beginning. It's also interesting to see and step out of this very convenient bubble of, let's say, I don't want to call it first world and make that divide, but we consider cryptocurrencies as, hey, I can do it on Revolut, hey, Dogecoin, hey, Elon Musk, haha, Twitter. Whilst there, it solves real-life problems. It helps you actually avoid absolute dilution and crash of your savings, or being able to make sure that your family, wherever else in the world, just has a livelihood. So that's what I consider really kick-ass about cryptocurrencies. And unfortunately, these aren't the sexiest topics for the news. So unfortunately, I think Elon Musk will steal the headlines every time. So
That's true.
The other question was about your day at Bitso as the head of trading engine. We will be diving more into the technical parts, but first let's start with a broader context. What does your day look like, and trading engine? Say more.
Sure. So my role is being a product manager, and it's very technically oriented product manager. I'm close to technology and architecture of software components, code, etc. Because at heart, I must say I'm an engineer. I like doing crypto, I like doing business, but engineering and technologies are my favorite topics, and where I think I can bring the most value to the company. So right now I'm working at two larger projects. One project is, and it is aligned with how we saw the alignment between the two companies, between Quedex and between Bitso. So the first one is revamping the trading technology stack of Bitso, because Bitso was co-founded in 2014 and had for those times, quite a solid technology stack, which got improved over the years. But as we scale, as we have more and more users, and as the volume skyrocket, we need to take the trading technology to the next level. The expectation in crypto starts to become similar to that in traditional finance. Low latency, high throughput, especially during very volatile market movements. So what we are doing is at Quedex we built that was in 2016 a super performant trading engine from the very beginning, because when trading futures and options, we immediately trade a lot of financial instruments, because futures, when we trade futures, we may have like 3 expirations, maybe monthly, quarterly, and a yearly contract. But when we have options, we have whole option chains. So we have the same expirations, but we have a number of strikes, maybe 20 different strikes, and we have a call and a put, which makes like hundreds of instruments traded at any given moment in time. And if we want to have liquidity, we need to have market makers connected. And if they are to provide tight spreads in the market, then they need to update their orders very, very frequently, like many times a second. So we had to create a very performant trading engine from the very beginning. So what we are doing right now is we are planning to swap the trading engine from Bitso and replace it with one based on Quedex technology. It's not the same, because the Quedex one is trading derivatives, and Bitso trades spot. So we need to accommodate that in the technology we built. So that's one project, very strategic for the company. And the second one, slightly longer term, is adding derivative offering to Bitso. So right now, if you go to bitso.com, which is the homepage of Bitso, we have right now we have three separate products to say so. The first one is like a consumer mobile app, super like user friendly and friendly to users coming into crypto. Great UX, great design, great usability, easy way of buying crypto. Then we have Alpha, which is like the exchange product. So it has a more advanced interface, enables technical analysis, viewing the whole order book, and so on and so forth. And we have third product, which is more institutional business oriented. This encompasses the remittances. So if you go to bitso.com, you will see these three products. And if you go to quedex.net, you will see a derivatives trading platform. So these are right now clearly two separate platforms. And what we want to do is we want to, in the longer term, create basically Bitso derivatives to bring it under one umbrella and provide consistent experience to users. This will be the first step. We are also planning on adding margin trading. Well, there is a lot of super interesting stuff coming in. But basically, the second project I'm involved in is bringing derivatives into Bitso, bringing the Quedex derivatives into Bitso. And specifically about my day, of course, everything fully remote right now. And I'm currently based in Warsaw, Poland, but I sometimes joke that I work in Mexico, which I never imagined I would do. But this is what this remote work revolution brought us into. This wouldn't be possible like 2 years ago, because Bitso had an office in Mexico, and which they decided to go fully remote about a year ago. So. This was possible to happen. And yeah, working between time zones, usually mornings not that busy, and afternoons full of meetings. That's my everyday life.
Once all of this blows over, I'm pretty sure there's a kick-ass business trip to Mexico waiting. So.
Oh yes. Already looking forward to it.
So, I mean, it must be a huge feat of technological expertise, nothing less, to create such an engine that's so performant that it actually is the subject of the acquisition, because oftentimes a company is acquired because of the teams, the skill sets, the products, but here, the proprietarity of this engine that you have created, Quedex, that's just amazing. And I wanted to follow up on Bitso's story a little bit broader. So if you could say where they are, perhaps not about the past so much, but more about where we are right now, the recent news of the funding, where is this going to be headed? Is this going to be the one and only major player from LATAM, and nobody else will be able to even take the second or the third place on the podium? And I wanted to invite everybody to jump in with any questions you might have. I'll be handling them for you. So everybody in the audience, comments section, please.
Sure. Okay. A bit of Bitso story. Okay, let me give a bit, just a glimpse of history to understand where we are right now. Bitso co-founded in 2014, one of the very first, maybe first two crypto exchanges in Mexico, and now when it comes to the growth, I think it's important to understand the growth, and I've written down some numbers. So Bitso registered the first customer in April 2014, and then it took 6 years and 2 months to register the first million of customers. So on the 26th June last year, we had 1 million customers. And then fast forward 10 months, which is to like roughly a month ago, another 1 million users. So this is the acceleration that we see these days, and this is mostly organic growth, and this has been mind-blowing to me. I think Bitso managed to strike the exactly right balance when it comes to offering super useful products, a way of speculating, a way of moving your savings into crypto for the LATAM users, a way for remittances between Mexico and US. And with this organic growth, it became pretty much the one and only exchange in Mexico. I think the volume share in Mexico is like between 99 and 100% volume in Bitso. So it's the one dominant player in Mexico. And when I say about this right balance, I mean them being crypto and leveraging what crypto offers. So what crypto offers is a level playing field, as much more level than in the financial space. Even a small retail customer has access to the same data, like full order books, full financial knowledge about what's going in the space, and something impossible in the traditional financial space, where there is a huge skew, like information gap between institutional players and retail players. So it's leveraging all those strengths of crypto while maintaining the right level of compliance. So being regulated in Gibraltar, I think for Bitso it was 2018 or 2019, I don't remember exactly, but it got regulated, and also having a good relationships with the authorities in Mexico, having good banking relationships. And we really have to understand this, because if a crypto spot exchange doesn't have good banking relationships, then it cannot function as an on and off ramp. And for most of those exchanges, well, it depends, like maybe some exchanges are crypto to crypto exchanges, but talking about fiat on ramps such as Bitso, this is the main selling point, being the on ramp to crypto and maybe off ramp sometimes. So Bitso managed to do it very, very well, basically. And so where we are right now, so I think, we are at the stage where we've seen super strong organic growth, being a dominant player in Mexico, expanded into Argentina last year and already owning majority of the market. And this year we started expanding into Brazil. And I think the recent founding rounds, because it's been also super exciting for me to witness this since we joined Bitso at the end of last year. Series B round in December raised $62 million, and then another 3 or 4 months passed and raised $250 million and more than $2 billion valuation. This demonstrates like the speed of growth and the potential. And we see that internally in the company, like between 10 to 20 people join the company every week. So it's really hyper growth, and it's super exciting to see this from within. I haven't had a chance to experience that in a company myself yet. Of course, a lot of challenges, like growing that crazy fast brings a lot of challenges on the organizational level, technology and everything, but it's super exciting. And we have the trust of top tier investors. The lead on this last round was Tiger Global Management, so really top tier investor, not only in crypto but worldwide. And with having that backing, we're planning to rule the whole Latin America, including Brazil. That's the most recent endeavor, and then becoming a global player. So that's like the business perspective, and maybe also let me mention a bit from the product perspective, because we also have exciting stuff coming, because so as I mentioned, so far we are very good on and off ramp, like seamless for customers who many times trust Bitso more than the traditional bank in their country. And now what we want to do is we want to, like our slogan is make crypto useful, and we want to explore new ways of making crypto useful. So not only like buying crypto and holding, maybe selling, maybe doing something else with it, but well, of course, as many other exchanges increase the offering of the cryptocurrencies we have, but also being able to save in crypto, interest-bearing accounts, products such as derivatives, as I previously mentioned, cards attached to your account, like payment cards, and many more. So basically bringing more use cases to the customer base we currently have.
So many things I want to mention. To begin with, I think that's the, I don't want to call it catch-22, but I think is the uphill climb, the baptism of fire that every person, every founder, anybody who's trying to go from 0 to 1,000 or 1,000,000, that's the most steep climb, because then from 1,000,000 to 2,000,000, just like you mentioned, it just becomes the snowball effect, right? So that happens. I want to ask, do you guys have a physical card? Are you partnered with Visa, MasterCard, or anybody else, or is that something that will soon come?
All in progress, and I'm not directly involved, so don't know too much details, but stay tuned.
Okay, I won't ask any further. You did mention all the key differentiating features of Bitso, so that was my leading question, so I can skip that. I feel like we're closing on the topic of business here, and we can dive into the sexiest topic for all people technologically inclined, so the tech, what's under the hood. But before we proceed with our questions, we have a couple from the audience. The most obvious one, and I also working in IT on the sales side, I'm interested in this answer. What's the tech stack? How was this developed? What's going on?
Sure. Well, so for Bitso, for a long time, it was pretty simple. PHP and an interesting combination of PHP and Redis used as a database, and as those more technologically inclined would recognize that Redis isn't necessarily a database, but when you use it as a database, it's an in-memory source, so it's quite performant. And for more durable storage than Postgres. And then for a revamp of the technology, which started a few years ago at Bitso, I think around 2017, it was migrating to Java and more microservices approach, and bringing in DevOps culture, using Docker, Kubernetes, Istio, and Terraform, and all those automation tools that are necessary these days to have one-click deployments and efficient and fast delivery. So that's roughly what the tech stack looks at the back end, and front end is React. And in Quedex, so what we are right now working on merging, the main trading parts at Quedex have been Java from the very beginning, not maybe ordinary Java, but like more high performance oriented Java with technologies such as Disruptor or Aaron for communication, so ultra low latency technologies. Some MongoDB for storage of huge amounts of data, and also some Node.js for some helper services at the backend, some Go, some Python, and well, front end also in React. So in Quedex we had the approach of more using more technologies, and basically with a microservices approach from the very beginning. We decided that the approach we'll use is when we have a problem where we have a particular service, then we choose the technology for the service, hence the multitude of the technologies, but it works really, really well.
Yeah, I should have expected such a long and complex answer, but I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that you have to have every bit of everything that just makes sense for the product itself. Um, but that's the full one. That's the fully bloomed flower of Bitso today. What about, and this doesn't have to be about Bitso, it just has to be for anybody. What do you think it takes to get from zero to MVP for a crypto exchange? How difficult is that? Is that a one-man operation? Is that 6 months? Is that a year? Is that even at all doable if you're just one person in the basement?
Very interesting question, and I think this changed a bit over the years, so also needs a bit of historical context and maybe a tiny bit of philosophy. And let me start with philosophy. So as we started, as I stated earlier, and I think this is all we know, crypto empowers people, like empowers everyone, creates this level of playing field. Well, of course, now we see that a single tweet can change the market a lot. So like there are different people have different powers, but well, we may also say that this is free market and this is how it works. But well, hopefully it still remains a more level playing field than traditional finance. So it empowers users, but it also empowers creators. Like if I were to start an exchange in traditional finance, like pretty much straight away after my studies with not too much money and
no
some expertise, like no way, like millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars are needed and a network of people and like plugging it all together and making it work, huge enterprise. And in crypto, like, yeah, we had many of such examples. Two founders get together in a garage and they code for a few months and then boom, we have an exchange. And this is what happened in the beginning years, like the exchanges that were created at the beginning, well, sometimes in famously Mt. Gox's and other exchanges which got hacked, but they were created, the technology stack wasn't super sophisticated, and I think it was also the case with Bitso, but time to market was what mattered, and I think the one distinguishing factor between those who survived and those who didn't was the approach to security. Like thinking about security first and solvency, like the first principle, I think differentiated the exchanges that survived and those who got hacked, or well, not to mention lack of integrity and running away with customers, with customers' money. But I think at the beginning, the tech stack wouldn't have to be super sophisticated. It had to be clever, like to tackle the challenges of the hype cycle of Bitcoin, all the bull runs of 2017 and those types of things. But as we go as the time passes, we see these changes. Like right now, the requirements are a lot higher for, of course, all the time I'm talking about centralized exchanges. Because institutional players are getting into the market and there is mass retail. I think we can say these days that we've got mass retail interest in the crypto space. So what we see from the exchange perspective is the most demanding circumstances that an exchange has to operate is very volatile, rapid market movements. Like in traditional finance, we would call it a flash crash and just stop the market. But now in crypto, it continues. We have like some new liquidations and like the market continues to tumble. And this is when exchange sees like an effect that we could name like bursts of orders. It's because usually orders are quite evenly split in time. You see them arriving with some frequency. Of course, there is randomness, but during such market circumstances, you get like many orders in a very short time span, and that's what's most difficult to the systems, because then we've got queuing effects kicking in and the system starting to become less and less responsive, and we see all those outages from, well, sometimes all of the exchanges that are out there in the market. So these days, being performant and being able to tackle of all that load is important. So I think these days it would be impossible or very hard to start an exchange like it was possible 5 or 7 years ago with a simple technology stack and just 2 people in the garage, unless the exchange had some other very strong competitive advantage. And if we look at the success stories in crypto and like those success stories of launching new exchanges and them quickly becoming winning players, let's use Binance as an example. So Binance did an ICO in 2017, and then they created an exchange. But if we really look at the history of what the founders have been doing previously is, if I'm not mistaken, CZ worked at OKX, and then they had a company in Asia which developed software for exchanges. So like they already had the software, and it was already a very good software. So when they launched Binance, like it looked like Binance was launched in like 2 or 3 months. Like it's impossible to create and code the exchange in such super short amount of time. So they were basically really well prepared. They already had the technology stack, and they just needed to get the business element right. And well, we had the right moment of the hype cycle, and hence the success. So yeah.
Solid one, and yeah, I mean that's the problem right now, that the scale has gotten so high that the barrier of entry technologically, in order to be useful, because it's one thing to create something that works, but something that works and also has a very safe fence around it, so nothing happens. That's important. And when you tell me that you're hiring 15 to 20 people each week, and I have 52 weeks in a year, I'm looking at 1,000 hires. Yeah, so.
Well, we will see what happens at the end of the year, but I guess that's a good estimation about the end of the year.
So now a very nice question, something that leads us into the last section of the questions of our interview. Did you have any attacks, or did someone try to exploit the trading engine? How and if not, that's not going to be the ideal answer, because of course media loves, an answer of a story where something happened. But even if not, I would love to hear how crypto exchanges get hacked. How does that happen?
Sure. Where to start? So I haven't been at Bitso for too long, so I don't know too many details. For sure, we haven't had any serious security incident like wallets being hacked or anything like that. Neither did Quedex. Of course, people attempt. Like if you have an exchange. There was a funny saying, like, if you're a crypto exchange, you are running a bug bounty program, even if you don't know about it. But so talking about this exploitation, and maybe, so let me try this angle, because usually like stealing customer funds and running away with the funds is something people talk often about. Like if we want, we can talk about this more. But I think
that's in the case of if I own the exchange, just like I think there was the story in Turkey recently where I, as the owner of the stock exchange, just say whoosh, I'm out. But I'm interested not in the stories of like social engineering and just convincing many people to give you money, because that can happen crypto, not crypto, any space, right? But this is something that will lead us into how the crypto exchanges work under the hood. So I'm keen to hear about the vulnerabilities for someone that's not on the inside, that's not social engineering, but proper engineering and finding a way in. How does that happen?
Right.
What happens?
Right. Okay. So let me talk about something that's not talked too much and is more related to what I'm doing. So the trading engine. How can you exploit the trading engine? And of course there are vulnerabilities. Like you can get, this is like the usual sense of getting hacked. And like someone finds a vulnerability, hacks into the systems, messes around, maybe finds a way to empty the hot wallet, right? And then sends the money to Huobi, to OTC, and then it's gone. So that's what happens usually. But actually exchanges, what's interesting to me is that exchanges can get exploited without like such an obvious vulnerability. So this is more about load and performance and exchanges getting unresponsive at certain times. And without mentioning any names, you may recall many such circumstances in crypto that it's like super volatile and you can't even place an order, right? So this is about more of denial of service attack. And we have distributed denial of service, and we have like the very basic ones like SynFlood, just terabytes of traffic sent to a server, bring it down. But we can get more clever about this when we have an exchange. We can have, let's call it intelligent DOS attack, basically sending traffic to an exchange which makes sense. Sending orders that make sense, and flooding the exchange with orders. And this is something we are already dealing with in traditional finance, like directives like MiFID II, and preventing order spoofing and things like this. But this is basically hacking the exchange financially through technology and manipulating the market. But something which was super interesting to me, and something we saw in crypto is something else, because crypto has this property which we all like, that we can use Bitcoin without identifying ourselves. It's pseudonymous. We only like, unless someone can identify that this is my address, they cannot link me with the transaction, only with the address which acts as my pseudonym. But and we like it about exchanges. Maybe I don't have to give all my data to an exchange. But that's actually when sometimes these things can work against us. And when I mean us, I mean users and like retail traders. I also sometimes trade or on crypto futures exchanges. And what you can see about some of those exchanges which had those like system overloads, and that we didn't know what was going on. Was this the exchange acting against all of its users? Was the exchange abused? And I think what some of the people in the space are leaning to is that the exchanges were actually abused. Because customers at the exchange weren't identified, they could create many different accounts on an exchange and basically flood the exchange with traffic. And maybe the exchange had some endpoints in many different geographical locations. So they flooded the endpoints of the exchange which weren't closest to them. And they left the one closest to them, and they had basically privileged access to the exchange. And when you, as a user, connected to the other gateway, which was flooded, then you got all those timeouts and everything. And that's super interesting about this level playing field, because we see crypto as enabler of that level playing field. But then those larger players who have more power, more technological know-how, and can abuse exchanges and want to do it, like, well, you need to want to do such things, and then what happened with some of those exchanges when they started introducing measures to identify their customers, such behavior disappeared, and the exchanges are functioning much better. So it's interesting how this technological aspects plays a role together with this compliance aspect. And often we think about all those KYC requirements and having to send our documents to an exchange as an unnecessary burden, as they want data about us and so on. But if an exchange has proper compliance measures and it cares about customers and it is regulated, it may also be a measure to actually help us as retail customers to prevent such rogue behavior from customers of the exchanges. So yeah, well, so this is you asked about exchanges being attacked, and I think this is one very interesting example and oftentimes overlooked.
Okay. I have to be a little bit of the time police here. We have 5 minutes left until the full hour. Do you have to go in 5 minutes, or can we slightly overrun the hour?
We can slightly overrun, yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking which question to ask now, because you've spoken so much about technology, you mentioned about the regulation. I don't think we will have time to talk about regulation per se that much. I think it's worth mentioning for the audience that, you know, at the end of the day, of course, crypto is one thing that it's supposed to be the currency of hashtag Silk Road, anonymous purchasing. But of course, if you want to have an exchange, if you want to be on an exchange as a user, you forego that anonymity mostly, and you focus largely on the financial aspects and the ability to ride the wave of the volatility. But oftentimes it has to be remembered whenever anybody from the audience uses, for example, Revolut, it's not Revolut that's doing the stock exchange purchases for you. It's not them who's buying the crypto. It's someone behind it. I think it's DriveWealth for Revolut. In Europe, we have Solaris Bank, which offers banking as a service. So whenever you see a fintech, there has to be a banking license. And most likely, it's not them with the banking license. It's not them providing the regulatory backbone for the existence that allows for those neobanks and neo-everything to exist on your smartphone screen. What I wanted to pick up a little bit is I really liked how much you spoke about leveling the playing field, about ensuring that everybody has a fair chance in terms of access to the data. Because as you know, we've spoken a little about BigShortBets before the interview, and you know that these are the similar values that we cherish ourselves. And what I wanted to ask you is, as much as you can say if you want, Reddit Wall Street Bets, the GameStop, the AMCs, the short squeezes, actually, it's not about whether it's that company or this company for me. For me, it's more about the fact of people having the ability to group in one place and combine their skill sets, their research, their natural curiosity of identifying various signals from the market and being able to say, hey, some people with some uneven information power and access to finance power and insider information power, they're making the moves. We want to make the moves too. Do you think that they were 100% right? Is there something that you think that Reddit Wall Street Bets was wrong? Because of course we heard Roaring Kitty or anybody from Reddit Wall Street Bets being asked to testify in front of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I don't think we saw anybody from Melvin Capital in front of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So I'm curious to hear your take about how, yes, sure, organize, but if you organize, we're going to take you on the stand, not the funds.
So to be honest, I haven't followed this too closely. Like I know roughly what the situation was about, but I don't know too much of the details. But so I will be kind of looking from the side at sure. This. So my view is that so it would be ideal in an ideal world which doesn't exist to have equal access to information for everyone and to have equal access to exchanges and trading venues for everyone, etc., etc. But of course, we know that it's not the case. So I think that so it is a subtle thing, right? Because I think that if we encounter something which is clearly market regulation, then it should be condemned. But sometimes it's hard to say whether something is market manipulation or is not, because well, like even very simply taken, someone may accidentally post a very large order which will just go through the market, and the price will have a flash crash because they did this by accident, or if it's a very intense something they do very much intentionally, and so when we have such events occur, I think, well, they should be investigated. They should be looked into in detail. And I think, like, regardless of who does it, whether they are a small player or a large player, it should be investigated pretty much the same. And I think it's what's sometimes surprising to me, and so for example, in 2016, during the crypto hype season, we experienced a lot of pump and dump scenarios, and on one hand, everyone just called it's crypto, it's a scam, it's all pump and dump, and it's just one big mess, and the traditional finance is where all the beauty is, and like we love traditional finance because crypto is everything that's dirty. And so on one hand, this was due to lack of enough, I think, oversight, regulation, but not necessarily a regulation imposed by some government entities. Maybe sometimes self-regulation is enough. And we saw that many times in crypto. And I think self-regulation is oftentimes very, very effective. Just being transparent, having, for example, as an exchange, good security policies and being transparent about them, and et cetera, et cetera. Like from the very early days, I think this is where crypto was good at. So that's one side, but the other side is that, well, it's not all about crypto being that bad, being the scapegoat, but we see that also in traditional finance, and it is oftentimes the case that the large players who have good connections, or for whatever reason, no one is chasing them for doing this, and it's like doing pretty much the same things, but with white gloves and without much scrutiny. So yeah, well, these are my views. I think, like, if the government entities are supposed to be of any help, they should set clear rules to everyone and enforce them. Not too strict rules, not just wanting all our private data, but because they usually say that their goal is to protect the customer, and oftentimes we feel that they aren't protecting us, they want to chase us, and they just want all our data. So I think as long as they are actually doing this, which is protecting us as customers and enforcing this regardless of who the offender is, then I think they are doing a good job.
Yeah. So it's a very balanced viewpoint. I understand where you're coming from. And yeah, I mean, especially it's once again the case of the barrier of entry. If somebody wants the data for compliance reasons, KYC reasons, okay. As an individual going through a compliance from A to Z versus if you're a hedge fund which has the staff to do it, the money to invest into automation tools, you have a compliance department, for you it's like, fine, let them do it. If you want to do it on your own, almost impossible. So I'm glad to hear those things. Stay tuned. We will try to equalize the playing field even more, so it's going to be perfectly flat. One last question for me before I let you go is, from a technical standpoint, what is going to be the next breakthrough or the next big thing when it comes to blockchain and or crypto? you choose what it is. I know it might not be something like AR glasses from Apple or going to the moon, but something significant that simply, I don't know, reduces some bottleneck right now that we have, that in 5-10 years will be just completely forgotten because we innovated so much. What's ahead of the curve?
Right. Interesting question. And as I mentioned to you earlier recently, I've been so busy that I'm not keeping up to everything that's new in the market. So my answer may be...
I mean, on a technical standpoint.
Okay.
So where you come from?
Sure. So I think from my perspective, doing technology and trading technology as an exchange, of course, we see the trend of things getting decentralized and exchanges getting decentralized, and DeFi, which unfortunately I haven't followed too closely because of lack of time, but I see some promising signs there. We see the development of all the blockchain second layer solutions, which hopefully will make things cheaper and faster. So honestly, I like, my gut feeling is that there is more value in level 2 solutions on major blockchains rather than an entirely new super fast blockchains, because the existing blockchains have proven security, have good network effects, they have a lot of usage. So my gut feeling is that this is the future. And also, like, just as a buzzword, I've seen a lot of interesting stuff done around zero knowledge technology and zero knowledge computation. So like the most basic use case is privacy coins like Monero and Zcash and others. But actually there are use cases in trading, which can potentially reduce the number of intermediaries between financial counterparties, making things run cheaper, more efficiently. I think there are, hopefully, maybe we will see some innovation in this space. But what I think we saw until today with, well, maybe not until today, but until some time ago with crypto was creating this parallel universe. There is the traditional finance, huge, and there is like small crypto going in parallel. And right now we see them converging together, which is an interesting point of like new ideas, new ways of optimizing things in traditional finance, but also a challenging one, because traditional finance is very rigid, progress is very slow, but well, hopefully crypto and blockchain can help optimize some of those things, while also continuing the parallel economy. Well, I'm a great fan of this parallel economy. I've spent a lot of time there.
So yeah, my conclusion, wrapping up this interview after what you just said, is usually it would be the financial institutions that would be spearheading change, as in, here's a new kind of product, here's a subprime loan, get yourself a house in the US, right? The Big Shorts movie and all that. But now here, actually, it was the retailers, I mean retail investors, driving this to the point where it becomes impossible to ignore for all the Banks of America, JP Morgans, Visas, and everybody just saying, okay, looks like we better not miss out. FOMO 100%, and the main street is already there, and we are not. So that's I think that's the first time in history like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and let me add just a small thing here. I think that indeed crypto so far has been driven largely by retail customers, just like ourselves being individual users using platforms, and there is tremendous innovation. Let's take the example of BitMEX, and well, we can say many different things about BitMEX, but I just good and bad, but I just want to focus on one, the perpetual swap, the product that they've launched and invented. It's a really great product. It's so from the user perspective and usability perspective, it is like trading spot with 100x leverage, right? That you relatively simple. Under the hood, it's a super complex financial instrument with like the funding rates and all those mechanisms which make it work. But I think that that's something where crypto is good at, simplifying things for the user and making it fun to use, trade, and I hope we will see this continue, because in traditional finance, what we used to have or still have a bucket shop and the CFD, right? And you trade against the casino. And you have product with, from the user perspective, pretty much the same or very similar qualities, which you can trade in a peer-to-peer fashion in an open order book. So for this one, I've got a lot of credit for BitMEX for creating this product. There are many other examples, but this one is from my field, from crypto derivatives, and I hope this innovation can continue.
Shout out to BitMEX, major shout out to Bitso, and a huge thank you to you for being a wonderful guest speaker today. I already feel around 10 to 100 times smarter after this interview. Thank you for all the educational value. I'm sure audiences feel the same. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, so we will be wrapping up. I'm sure that Mexico awaits your work, so thank you for today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.